Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. As you can tell by the title, today is just going to be a story about how my dad died and how I tried to frame it to understand and get the most out of the situation that appears so shitty on the surface. And I hope that some of you can take something from it, or maybe look at your situation in a different perspective, or shed a new light on something. And that's my goal with sharing the story. So my dad died a few months ago, December 13th, 2016, and the last few years of his life, I was estranged from him, basically. Growing up, we didn't really have a good relationship. He wasn't the best dad, and admittedly so. But at 18, my parents, when they split up, for about 5 years or so, me and my dad had a pretty decent relationship. He wasn't my dad, it wasn't a father-son relationship really, but it was a relationship, and it was all right. Until he met the woman who he decided to marry, and that would eventually end up killing him. When he met her, she slowly started making sure that he cut ties with his family. She made him sell the house that we lived in, because when my parents split up, they kept the house. It was in both their names. They kept the house because the housing market was down. They decided to hold off on selling it until the market goes up. Smart decision. But she made him sell that, and we lost hundreds of thousands on that. And she definitely, sometimes actively, sometimes passively, but she definitely made him, or influenced him, to cut ties with his previous family members. And I always thought at the time, I always thought it was jealousy or something, but definitely wasn't jealousy. So a few years ago, I moved up to Seattle. Was it, I don't know, 4 years ago, I think, 4 years ago. And after I moved up there, I called him a few times, and it always just seemed like I was bothering him. He didn't really seem to give a shit, so I just stopped talking to him. And then when I came back down to California, I ended up moving like a few miles away from where he lived with his current wife, but I never saw him. And this was at the end of 2015, early 2016. That's when I moved here. But I always had a strong feeling like I should go see him, but I never did until mid-November of last year. When one day, after dropping my girlfriend off at work, I didn't even really think about it. It's like my soul just guided me, or like whatever you want to call it. Something just literally drove me over there. There wasn't much thought behind it. And when I first see his wife there, the first thing she says is, "How do you know where I live?" Like, all fucking scared and angry. And I was like, "What the hell?" It's like, "Well, I've been here. I was here one time when you first moved here, but you weren't here. And I live a mile down the road. I just know where you guys live." And she goes, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Can I see my dad?" And she's like, "Well, about that." She takes me outside and talks to me for like a half an hour without really fully saying exactly what was wrong with him. She's talking about how things have gone downhill, about how all he wanted was a family, bullshit, and all he wanted, like, he just was he was very sad about how everything went down. And then she started talking about his life insurance, and this is before I even really knew how serious the thing was, but after she said life insurance, I figured how serious she was. And she goes, well, I'm all set. I would never try to take any money away from it. And she's like, but you know, your mom made sure that her and your sister are on the life insurance, but you and your half sister from my dad's other marriage, you guys are not on it. And she goes, oh, I think that was just so wrong. I can't believe your mom would do that. And I'm listening to this, and I'm like, all right, I don't really know if I believe her or not believe her, but I'm just like, whatever. I told her, I was like, I don't care about the money. I was like, can I just see my dad? She says, oh, okay, I'll let you see him. And I go into his room, and he's like huddled around like 5 blankets, and he's like shaking, even though he's sleeping. I see him. We wake him up, and he looks at me, and he looks like fucking shit, but he recognizes me, and he can't talk anymore really, but he's trying to communicate. I see through his eyes, his soul trying to communicate 2 things. One is how I got back down here to California. I'm sure he thought he'd never see me again. I mean, he was very happy about that. It was just very, very obvious. And 2, he was trying to communicate how much of a fucking shit hellhole his life currently was, and how much pain he's in. And it was obvious he was not doing good. But despite his sickness, which he later said was Parkinson's, my dad was in there. You know, my dad was in there trying to communicate with me. But after 10 minutes or so, she comes in, and she gives him his medicine. And then we go in the living room, and I swear, like 5 minutes after that happens, my dad's gone. Literally, like, he's in the room, but he's gone. Like, that was the last I talked to him. Like, I was with him for another few hours, but I didn't talk to him after that. He was just a baby. He was an infant. He was just not there at all. He was gone. He was absolutely gone. And so the rest of the visit there, and I was there for a few hours, I was talking to Annie, his current wife, and Yvette, his daughter, or her daughter, and I already knew her because she was my dad's neighbor previously. But where was that? It was a decent visit at the time. Like, there were so many little things that happened during that visit that were weird. Like, even in the moment, like my intuition, I have a strong intuition, very strong intuition. They were just like eating at me, but I just chalked it up to, well, I just found out my dad is fucking on his deathbed, and I was just in shock. But yeah. So anyway, so I leave, and a week later, I decided to call. Annie gave me her number, so that I could call him and visit him again. You know, he didn't have much to live. But I call, and the number's disconnected. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I try to get a hold of Yvette, and finally do after a few days, and it took a lot longer than I thought it would or should. And she says, well, my mom thinks that it would be good if you don't see him again, or at least for this time, for the next few weeks. There's a lot of things going on. I was like, what the fuck? Like, he's dying. Like, I want to see him. And after I was like, well, my sister wants to see him. I was like, she hasn't seen him in years, and you know, I told her, and she wants to see him. And she said, well, she can't come see you. She said, I'll think about you, but your sister, she's not gonna let her see him. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is our dad, and he's dying, and we won't want to fucking see him. So that really pissed me off. But you know, it's like, you know, fuck it. You know, if that's what she really wants to do, then you know, that's her decision. You know, she was taking care of him, you know, wiping his butt, showering him, feeding him, giving him his medicine, all that shit. So I thought, it's like, well, maybe a bitchy move, but I guess she's earned that right. But on the night, okay, so a few weeks later, on the night my dad died, I just got the strongest strongest feeling that something was wrong. Something was really, really wrong, and I didn't know what. I had a feeling it was my dad, but I wasn't positive. I just knew something was completely wrong, and I started freaking out and panicking and crying, and my girlfriend's like, it's okay, like nothing's going on, but I knew something was. But then the next day comes around, and the next day, and the next day, and I don't hear anything from them, and I was expecting to hear something from them, like, oh, your dad died. But nothing. I didn't hear anything. Until a few weeks later, my mom calls me, and she got a letter from Annie in the mail. So this is almost a month after my dad died, and she said, your ex-husband's dead, so you won't be getting any alimony anymore. And she said, I took you and the kids off the life insurance, and I'm getting all his retirement too. So you're entitled to nothing. And that's in essence what the letter said, which freaks my mom out, and she's still battling over it, and we don't know if she'll get anything, but we just don't know. But as of right now, Annie has like $500,000 plus a monthly check of my dad's that in the divorce agreement, in my mom and dad's divorce agreement, should have gone to us. Like that was like the big centerpiece of the agreement. But after I heard that, I flipped out, and I started thinking, and everything that happened that night when I went to go visit him, every weird thing that I just chalked up to my senses being off, they clicked. It all made sense. The fact that Annie was talking about life insurance and was scared that I was there before I even knew what was happening. The fact that she said, or her previous husband died, but she said, you know, when my previous husband died, I was really hurt for a long time, but when Steve dies, it's my dad, when Steve dies, I'm going to be devastated, absolutely devastated. But when she said that, she was smiling. And it wasn't like a huge smile, it was a micro expression smile, but it was a smile, it was like a sick, gross smile. And now I know why she was waiting for him to die, so she could collect the paycheck. And the medicine she gave him, you know, that was poison. That was what was killing him. That's why I wasn't able to talk to him after the first few minutes. And that's the reason why she didn't inform us that he died. She didn't inform his fucking kids that he died. And she didn't let us go to the funeral because of that. Why? Because she wanted to make sure all the paperwork was in place. She wanted to make sure that she had her money. And she had him cremated the next day. We found that out. And she's Catholic too. She made him become Catholic, he was raised Catholic and he hated Catholicism. And I know for a fact when he converted back, he was not in his right state of mind, because he never would have done that. That's not the dad I would have known. That I do know. He just didn't care at that point. And the fact that she made him, or highly influenced him to cut ties with his family from the get-go, you know, from minute one, from the moment she started going out with him, like all these weird things I didn't really quite understand, they made sense. They started to make sense. I was like, oh, she was just slowly poisoning him. And she was a nurse for her career, when it's an 80-year-old lady now, but she was a nurse, so she absolutely had access to whatever it is that could cause the nerve damage. It was a lot of nerve damage and brain issues that he had that killed him, and she called it Parkinson's, but it wasn't Parkinson's. It wasn't. Very rarely does Parkinson's kill a man in 2 years. It happens, but it's so rare. It's so rare. And some of the I read up a lot about it, and she was definitely slowly poisoning him. His health was absolutely fine until he started going out with her. I remember him. I remember maybe like 3 or 4 months after he moved in with her. Like, he came to visit. It's one of the last times I saw him before I moved to Seattle, and he looked like shit. He looked like absolute shit. And at the time, I thought, I was like, well, you know what? He's a 60-some-year-old guy. He's living with someone who's almost 80. You know, that's gonna rub off on him. You know, that's gonna age him. And I knew it would. Like, I always knew that she would kill him and age him quick. But in my mind, I thought it was just because she was old. She was fucking old. And like, the worst thing you can do, no matter what age you are, is hang out with fucking old people. And that might sound harsh, but it's the truth. If you want to stay young, hang out with young people, hang out with kids, hang out with teenagers, hang out with 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, people who still have their mind, because that forces you to keep your mind. That forces you to use it. And when you hang out with people much older than you, especially when you're that age, it's gonna age you. It's gonna have an effect, and that's just a fact. So that was always what I thought consciously, but subconsciously, I obviously knew that she was actually gonna kill him. I have no doubt in my mind that she was slowly poisoning him. And then she hid her trail, and there's nothing we can really do. And what's crazy is when I was over there, she gave me his medicine. After she gave it to him, she gave me the little thing that it was like a little syringe without a needle that she could squirt in his mouth, and she asked me to just put it on the table. And my instinct was to fucking pocket it for whatever reason. When I thought it, I was like, why the fuck would I? I was like, what? I'm not gonna do that. But I realize now why my soul was telling me that, because if I did, I could have, the entire situation would have been different. We would easily could have been able to prove that she was poisoning the poor guy. So, as you can imagine, I was really, really, really pissed. Really, really pissed. I still am. Pissed at this old stupid lady who's already fine. Her previous husband died and left her a shitload of money. She was already fine. So not like she probably poisoned him too. But I was just pissed that this old fucking lady killed my dad and stole $500,000 from me and my family. Half of that, and a good portion of that, would have gone to me and helped, better my life. I live in a fucking RV, for Christ's sakes, a small one, and that money could help me start my entire new life, a new career, new place, new everything. Be huge. A big lump sum money like that would be absolutely life-changing for me. So I was furious, absolutely furious for a while, but I knew deep down that being mad at her or being mad at the situation was pointless. It was irrelevant. It wasn't going to help me. It's not going to solve anything. It's not going to change anything. And I had to think about a few things. One, what this situation was trying to tell. I believe and I know that every situation in every person's life, everything in every person's life, every person in every person's life, is just a reflection of themselves, an aspect of them that is being reflected back. The outside world is just a mirror. It's not real. Everything's all in your head. When you think about it, you've never experienced anything other than what's in your head. Ever. And you never will unless you understand that. So I'm thinking, well, why did I create this? Why did this happen? And here's the answer that I came up with. A few times after my dad met Annie and our relationship went south again, more than a few times. It wasn't like all the time, but like a handful of times I did think, it's like, well, you know what? So I already had a feeling that he was gonna die soon. Like I knew he was gonna die in his 60s when I was a kid. I just always knew. So that probably had a factor in it too. But I thought, I was like, you know what? Well, if he dies, I get a lump sum of money, and I can start my own life, and that will be his contribution to me. And that's a fucked up thought. It's an absolutely fucked up thought. But I thought that, and you know what? I still think that. I still think that, and that's just me being 100% honest with myself. And that's something that a lot of people can do. But I'm sharing this because I want you guys, if any of you are in a situation like this, or there's any bad situation, think about your deepest thoughts that you wouldn't even want to admit to yourself, and admit them to yourself, that you wouldn't want to admit to anyone else, and admit them to someone else, because you're gonna find that you had a lot more to do with the situation than you originally thought. Because on the surface, most anyone would look at this situation and it's like, oh, poor you, oh my God, your stepmom killed your dad, slowly poisoned him, he had a horrible death, and then she took your guys' money that you depended on, that you and your mom and your sister literally depended on, and she took it all, and she didn't even need it, and she's an 80-year-old person, she's gonna die soon anyways. She did it all for a paycheck. And as you can hear in my voice, I'm still a little angry about that. But I know this whole situation is just a reflection. It's not real. It's not real. I can't rely on a death or any situation. I can't rely on anything for my idea of financial freedom. I can't rely on anything or anyone other than myself, basically. And I hope by releasing this, I hope some of you can just come to terms with the situations in your life that maybe, subconsciously, or whatever you want to call your soul, your spirit, the energy, whatever you want to call it, your higher guide. They showed you that situation. They put you in that situation for a reason. And to not get angry about it, to not get sad about it, but to just analyze it and accept it, learn from it, and move on. And that's what I'm trying to do. It's been almost 3 months and I'm still having trouble. I imagine it's going to take a while. Like I didn't expect it would take less than 3 months. But I believe and I know that I'm on the right track. I know this is how my soul wants me to perceive the situation, without anger. Because while I would never, this should go without saying, but while I would never kill anyone for any amount of money, while I'd never kill my family members for money, while I would never kill anyone else and steal money from them, I still had the thought. I still had the thought that, well, if he dies, then I get money, and that can replace a dad. But the thing is, it can't replace a dad. It absolutely can't. And while I know some of my other family members and their thought patterns absolutely had an even bigger influence on this than me, on a deeper level, those other family members are just reflections of me too. So their thoughts are just mine. Their thoughts and actions are just reflections of my thoughts and my actions. So I can blame my mom all I want for her poor person's consciousness, which she has a fucking horrible one. Like, seriously, one of the top 3 I've ever seen in my life of like how bad of a poor person's consciousness she is, which she passed down to her kids. And I can blame, and obviously that had a huge impact on her getting robbed of $500,000 plus a monthly paycheck. Obviously. But I can't, if I blame her from that, I'm not taking responsibility. I have to take responsibility for that. I have to use that. That's just my soul saying, hey, look, you've got a fucking poor person's consciousness. You have to get out of this. Like, you made this. It's not right, but it's not wrong. There's no right and wrong. It just is. And you can change it. And you can fix it. You just have to accept it and take responsibility for it. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm really trying to take responsibility for this. And a lot of people don't really understand what the word responsibility is. I think some people might hear it and say taking responsibility might be like going to jail for it or something. It's like, obviously that's not taking responsibility. That has nothing to do with it. Responsibility is an emotional thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's a acceptance thing. It's a way to give power back to yourself. Because if I just live my life being pissed at this stupid old lady who killed my dad slowly and took my money, if I'm just live my life angry at that, I will never move on. I will never do the things I want to do, and I will never be happy. The only chance I have is to accept it, understand my role in it, understand that there's a good chance that I was beneath every single little layer. I was there. I was doing everything. And if I do that, then I can learn from my mistakes. I can learn to change the subconscious beliefs that I had, and through that I can live the life where I actually want to live. So that's why I believe this happened to me. It was a big wake-up call. And if any of you have a similar situation or story, I'd be glad to talk to you about it. I understand the huge range of emotions that's involved in something like this. But you have to understand that no matter how horrific, no matter what it is, no matter if you saw 1,000 people get raped and killed in front of your eyes, no matter how horrible of a thing is, as soon as you distance yourself from it and you say, oh, they did that, that wasn't me, they did that, you're never ever going to truly grow, you're never going to truly understand, and you're never going to truly move on. So that's my message. Thank you guys for watching this far. Really hope you learned something. Take care. I'll be back soon.